Picture Earth before dinosaurs. No cozy forests, no birds singing, no cute little mammals minding their business. Just a world that looks like it woke up angry and decided to stay that way. If you were dropped into it, your first thought would not be, wow, beautiful nature. Your first thought would be, I would like to leave now, immediately. Because this was a planet where everything felt oversized, unfamiliar, and deeply committed to ruining your day. The air was heavier, the land was weird, the water was full of things with too many teeth. And on land? Oh, on land was where the nightmare really started. Imagine insects, not regular insects, not the kind that buzz around your porch and make you mildly annoyed. I mean, giant insects, dragonflies with wings wide enough to make you question whether the laws of nature are just suggestions. Some of them looked less like bugs and more like flying helicopters designed by an evil committee. And if you hate mosquitoes now, just be grateful you did not live in a world where the insects could probably carry off your lunch, your hat, and maybe your self-esteem. But that's not even the craziest part. The land itself was hostile. Huge swampy forests stretched everywhere, thick with mud, rotten plant matter, and soggy ground that seemed to exist purely to swallow your shoes and your hopes. The air could be strange too. In some places, it had way more oxygen than today, which sounds nice until you realize it helped everything grow larger. Yes, that means the bugs got bigger, the plants got bigger, even the creepy things lurking in the shadows got bigger. Basically, the whole planet was on a growth spurt with terrible judgment. Now imagine walking through that. Every step sinks into wet ground, every branch snaps somewhere behind you, every shadow looks like it might have teeth. And the worst part? You do not know what kind of creature is about to appear because half the animals on Earth at this point look like somebody opened a monster design app and forgot to log off. Some of the creatures were bizarre little nightmares with armored bodies, long jaws, spines, claws, and expressions that said, I have no natural enemies and poor interpersonal skills. Others were early relatives of animals we know today, but they were in their experimental phase, which is always dangerous. Nature was clearly trying out ideas. Some worked, some looked like they should have been rejected in the first meeting. And the land was not just full of weird animals, it was full of dead ends. Some areas were hot and dry, others were swampy and toxic. Some places were covered in dense, tangled vegetation that made it hard to see anything until it was already too late. There was no comfort zone, there was no safe area. There was just less dangerous than the other place, which is not exactly a winning tourism slogan. And then there's the sky. The sky itself could feel wrong. In some periods, volcanic activity pumped gases into the air. The ground shook, smoke and ash could darken the horizon. You are trying to survive, and the planet is literally coughing on you. Not ideal. Now, let's talk about the oceans, because if the land was a nightmare, the water was doing its own horror movie. Ancient seas were packed with creatures that looked like they were assembled from spare parts. Some had armored heads, some had long, fang-filled jaws, some had body plans so strange you'd stare at one and think, was this thing designed by a committee that hated all life? There were predators gliding through the water like torpedoes with attitude. If you fell in, you were not taking a swim. You were entering the food chain with no paperwork and no chance of a refund. And these oceans were not calm, peaceful places either. They were alive, constantly moving, constantly hunting, constantly making survival the main event. Imagine looking into dark water and knowing something underneath you is already looking back. That's not a lake. That's a threat with depth. Some sea creatures were monstrous in size, with jaws built to crush, slice, or just completely ruin your afternoon. Others were smaller, but somehow even worse, because at least a giant predator is honest about being terrifying. The smaller ones had sneakiness. They had the unsettling energy of something that would absolutely hide behind a rock and ruin your entire species' week. And the strangest part is that this wasn't some isolated nightmare pocket. This was Earth, the actual planet, your only home. The same Earth we think of as beaches, sunsets, and cute animals was once a place where everything felt like it had a survival mode set to maximum. Now imagine you are a tiny creature in all this. You are not the biggest thing. You are not the strongest thing. You are not even the weirdest thing, which is honestly saying a lot. Your entire existence is basically a daily negotiation with death. One wrong move and you are somebody else's dinner. Hide too long and you starve. Move too much and something notices you. Nature was not giving out participation trophies. Nature was giving out consequences. So, how do you survive in a world like that? You get small. You hide. You stay alert. You become fast, clever, and very committed to not being seen. In a place like this, camouflage is not just a strategy, it is a lifestyle. The smallest animals were often the smartest. They tucked themselves into the shadows, crept through leaf litter, and survived by being invisible. Because out there, being dramatic got you killed. The only thing worse than being noticed was being noticed by the wrong thing. And the wrong thing was everywhere. On land, there were creatures with armored plates, crushing jaws, and bodies that looked like they could survive a direct hit from a meteor. In the water, there were predators moving like living weapons. In the skies, giant insects could fill the air like flying nightmares. And under all of it, swamps, heat, mud, ash, and a planet that felt raw and unfinished. It was not a world for comfort. It was a world for endurance. And that makes the next part even crazier. Because all of this chaos was happening before dinosaurs became the stars of the show. Let that sink in. Before the T-Rex, before the Triceratops, before the giant thunder lizard energy of the dinosaur age, Earth had already been through its terrifying weird phase. Dinosaurs did not arrive on a peaceful, cozy planet. They inherited a world that had already been brutalizing everything for a very long time. In a weird way, dinosaurs were an upgrade, not because they made Earth friendly. Absolutely not. They still lived in a dangerous world, but compared to what came before, they arrived like the new bosses in a game that had already spent a long time being unfair. The planet had been practicing being extreme, and maybe that is the most unsettling part of all. Because when we think about prehistoric Earth, we usually jump straight to dinosaurs, huge jaws, giant footprints, epic battles. Fine, fair enough. But before all that, Earth was already a terrifying experiment in survival. It was a place where the bugs were huge, the oceans were hungry, the air could be nasty, and the ground itself seemed determined to betray you. So, the next time somebody says dinosaurs were the scariest thing to ever walk the Earth, remember this. Dinosaurs were not the beginning of the nightmare. They showed up after the nightmare had already settled in, and somehow, that makes them feel almost charming. Earth did not start with dinosaurs, it started with a challenge. And for a long time, the planet's favorite hobby was trying to kill everything on it. And if you enjoyed this video, smash that like button. It literally takes 1 second and it helps the channel grow massively. Now, hit subscribe, because next week, we're going even deeper. We're going to take everything that happened after the dinosaurs. The ice ages, the rise of mammals, the first humans walking on 2 legs, and ask one terrifying question. What was the real reason humans became the dominant species on this planet? Was it intelligence? Was it luck? Or was it something far darker that scientists are only now beginning to understand? The answer will completely change how you see yourself as a human being. Subscribe so you don't miss it. I'll see you in the next one.